Hey guys, it's Sunday now. I'm down here in the shop again. Getting ready to start wiring this stuff in, adding accessories, and we got to finalize what we're doing for a dash. So I pulled the old instrument cluster out. We weren't going to use a lot of it, and I have some gauges I'd rather use. So we have as of right now, we got an oil pressure gauge. The tack that's in it actually still works. As far as I can tell, it works fine. So I'm not going to change it out. It's mounted in the center of the dash there. In one of the old heater vents. We won't be running the HVAC, so I'm not real worried about that. Maybe using it for something, but we're not using it for what it's designed for. So anyway, this is the old gauge cluster out of there. This is the cover for it anyway. And what I've done is I've laid this cover on this piece of scrap aluminum and I've traced the outside of it. So my goal is to get a flat aluminum plate that I'll be able to cut the holes for, and we'll put our GPS speedo in there, our oil pressure gauge, and I've got a little it's like external temp thermocouples, right? And they go on over a bolt. I put one over the thermostat housing, and I'll put one on the transmission pan. I did a similar setup on the Samimog. I haven't had any trouble. I've tested it with the temp gun, the infrared temp gun. I'd say they're accurate within a few degrees. I guess it all depends on where you put it. What do you want to watch, right? So I want to watch the function of my thermostat and make sure my coolant system's function properly. So I'm going to try that. The gauge I use on the Samurai come out of Australia. I spent a lot of money on it. It's worked well. It's way cooler than the one I ordered for this. But that one was like $200, and this one's like $35. So we're going to try the $35 one on this and see if that works. So in this cluster, for now, we're going to have our oil pressure, our speed, and our two temperatures mounted on this plate. I'm going to leave room on it to add more gauges later if that's what I choose to do. So basically this panel will bolt through the factory, 4 bolts, right here in the middle of the dash. Remember my dash hole I showed you the other day? We're going to put that right in there to cover up that dash hole, and that'll give us a good spot for these gauges. So I've got my very fancy brake rotor and alternator for weight here to hold my flat stock, and that's just my guide, right? I've got a brand new 4x8 sheet of aluminum. I don't feel like getting into it yet, because once I pull it out, like, we have to deal with where to put it and whatnot. I don't like getting them messed up. So it's wrapped in cardboard underneath the Samimog right now. And this is a piece left over from the original Samimog build, and this is what I'll build the brackets today that I plan to build. I hope I can get them all out of here. I also plan to build a piece to go across here in front of the shifter and curve down, and I'll probably use the front of the shifter mount bolts. So we'll have like a C channel type bracket or plate. We'll put that in there, and I'll mount all my switch gear to that, and that'll give us a removable piece, make it easier to work on the wiring. I may even put the fuse block right on the back, so if we have trouble, we'll just unscrew it right there, drop it out, work on it, put it back in place. That's kind of my goal. I'll be using inserts where I can and whatnot, because I do not like having to hold back up. I mean, if you're working on electrical on the trail, why make it any harder than you have to, you know? So I like to keep it all neat and clean inside the cab. That way I know if I got water on it or not, instead of wondering with it out under the hood. So that's kind of my goal. That's what I'm going to work on here. Anyway, we'll see how today goes. I'm going to get this cut out. I don't have the gauges yet, so I'm just cutting this for fitment. But it's kind of going to help me give me an idea of how I want to do the rest of it. So anyway, that's where we're at. I'm going to work on piecing this all together. And we'll see what we get. Anyway, thanks for watching, and let me know what you think, and I'll show you. We'll do some progress pics as it goes. Thanks, guys. So here I am, guys, cleaning up this plate I cut with the plasma cutter. Just cleaning off the edges, shaping it just a little bit. I got a little aggressive on the one corner. Oh, look at that, sparks. How would you get sparks off aluminum? I wondered the same thing until I looked at my straight edge, and I might have blown through a little bit of the strap. So a little metal slag left over on the aluminum. Oh, hey, buffing. Full disclosure, I had to do a little bit more after I got done with this. Hey, guys, look at that, man. Custom contoured, man. She might have flopped over once in the past. It's hard to say, but it's pretty safe to say. So anyway, good buddy Steven's going to hook me up. We're going to get this all swapped out. He's going to get me the parts at the off-road show down there in Dayton at the end of the month, into February. So anyway, she should actually seal with the doors when I get this changed out. And that's part of the reason we put the rear radiator. We're going to build a little cowl around it for safety. But we're going to reverse the fans to blow heat into the cab. So this is going to be an all-weather rig. I do have a new soft top sitting over here in a box, somewhere over there. I don't know, over there somewhere. Anyway, that's the goal. Just needs a couple parts, and I mean, it's really not that bad. I could probably straighten it, you know. No, it's toast. Anyway, but look, guys, I got my makeup mirror in there. Got to polish it a little bit. But not bad. I had to do like 2 passes with the flap wheel after the little time lapse. But man, it really, for not building one, I haven't did a custom cut panel, following a template in probably a year and a half, maybe a little longer. So getting back in the saddle anyway, really fits pretty nice. I got a little gap up here I don't really care for. If it gets bothering me too bad, I'll get some like some of that little door edging, and we'll put that around there, and then nobody will be able to tell our little secret. Anyway, hopefully, well, I mean, there's a good chance somebody watched the video anyway, so it's not too much chance of me getting exposed here. But anyway, this one probably won't be headed to Mecum right away, so I got time to get it right. But anyway, that's where we're at, guys. That's a little aluminum panel. I'm sure, you know, if I had a plasma table or water jet, something like that, it'd probably be a lot smoother, a lot faster, obviously a lot faster. But the whole spirit of this channel is, you know, get the tools you need, but work with the tools you got too. So for no more aluminum work than I do, this method works fine for me. So anyway, I'll just keep rolling with it. Catch up with y'all in just a minute. Man, oh, okay. It's marked. That's the driver's side. This is the passenger side. I was trying to remember that. Yeah, we are building this for North American roads. So driver's side, passenger side. Anyway, now we got that figured out. So look, guys, we got this little plate in here. Got it bolted in now. It will be cleaned up, buffed down. I had to use the original hardware due to the inserts in the dash. I didn't feel like trying to crimp something new in. And like I said before, I hate reaching in for backup. I may look for some hardware that fits a little bit better right now. I just got it spaced up a little bit. I think finished product, it's really not going to look bad. It's back out of the way of the knuckles of the guy driving. Not a big deal. So moving forward, this is actually our transmission kick down. When you need to downshift real quick under throttle, you just flip it to hot, coming in hot. And that's going to be a kick down cable for the transmission since we don't have the provisions on the throttle. Is it practical? Probably not. Could it be fun? Maybe. I don't know. But we're going to do it anyway. And look, we got an AC button. It does absolutely nothing, but you can press it. So that does the button functions. But we needed a place to mount some stuff. We're not going to be using the heater core this time, but we're going to leave room in case we wanted to. So as you can see here, this is all still open back here. But kind of the thought process was we built off the transmission tower. We carved off yet a little bit more shifter. Anyway, it still functions. Does everything we need it to. So anyway, I got to mount 2 bolts up in here, and I'm making some little aluminum strips with inserts that will come in behind the dash and brace off the plastic. And so by doing that, it'll spread the load out. Less likely to crack the dash. I got to be honest with you guys. This is mounted pretty good right now. I can't stand rattles. So we're going to take care of that. If you look back here, I did build a bracket that comes off the front of the shifter bolts. And this bolts through into the tub. And then we got 3 inserts across here to hold this bottom flat. And so the thought process being, guys, we're going to put our 3 fan switches right in here, roughly. And the first fan is going to run the fan probably behind the passenger seat, and the one in the front for clearing out the hood, I'll put them on a 30 amp relay. These 2 here, maybe a 20 amp relay. They really, the fans in the back only pull like, it's about 7.5 amps a piece. They're 80 watt divided by 12 volts, so not even 7, 6.5 amps, 6 2/3 amps. So like really 120 amp fuse would handle all three, but that's cutting it really close. But what I'm going to do is I'll run a relay for this first one. It'll kick on that front fan and the first of the cooler fans, and then each one of these will kick on a sequential rear mounted cooler fan. And I don't even know if I'm going to run relays, guys. It's a short wiring run. I'll probably just fuse it and go. I don't think that's going to be an issue. I have a secondary fuse block I'm going to use, but we're going to mount this like right in here. And for the space constraints, it saves us cutting up any more dash. I do have that mess over there. I may reuse some of those toggle switches. It's hard to say right now. And then this panel will mount right here in the corner. So once we're back in gear, everything should be accessible enough. And I think that's going to be pretty nice from the driver's seat. You should be able to hit everything, turn it on and off. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now, guys. Like I said, I'll get this tucked as high and tight as I can. Due to the bolts, it might be in a little bit. We can play with it. We could even go like that if we felt the need to. That's going to be, I could put this down here and put the 3 flange switches, and that might actually fit better. We might look at doing something like that. But we have a few options, and then this whole panel's removable. So I'll be able to put some of my fuse blocks back here, mount a lot of the electrical equipment on the back side of this same panel. So you pop the bolts out, they're all inserts. Pop the bolts out, we'll leave enough slack and everything. We can move it out of the way and actually work on it on the trail, have it all accessible. I know everybody loves digging through the floorboards and everything to get the fuses. I don't enjoy it as much as most, believe it or not. I prefer to have everything where I can get to it. And then what we'll do over here is I have... we're going to put in a couple USB chargers, a couple 12-volt plugs, and a volt, with the built-in voltmeters on them. So we'll have some stuff going in over here too. So speedometer, oil pressure, somewhere in here, oil pressure, the temp thing. We'll have room for one more gauge up here if we need it. The tach actually functions. We're not going to have blinker indicators at this time, so you just have to remember not to be grandma and leave it on for 3 hours, making your turn. In the Salmon Mog, I wired up off the blinker relay, a couple lights in the dash. Nothing says I can't do that here. We have the technology. So, anyway, guys, that's kind of what I'm thinking. This was a piece of scrap. Still working off of scrap. Haven't busted out. Don't have a dime in the aluminum yet. So, use what you got. Hey, guys. Been down here wiring tonight, working on a few things, and... well, it may not look like a lot, but I did get quite a bit done today. Main thing is crossing off, like making decisions, crossing some hurdles I was facing on packaging and whatnot. So, I've had 2 dash fires back in the day. First one was probably 04, 05 at the Badlands. Had a buddy Brent in the rig with me. It didn't fully catch fire, but I was running an amp meter in the dash, and the main lug come loose and started arcing out behind the dash on the middle of a dune, and that was interesting. We were blowing fire out of the dash and whatnot. We got it taken care of. Bypassed the amp meter, finished our night ride there. The second time was probably in 2008. My son was about 3 years old. He was in the back seat of the rig, and we were down at Superlift at a pretty bad spot, and a trail fix come back to get me. We had a pretty good bit of smoke under the hood and coming out. He unseatbelt about bailed off about a 6-foot ledge, and we got him caught and everything, talked him down. He panicked. I mean, quite a bit of smoke. But anyway, since that time, those instances there, I've really taken wiring a lot more seriously. I'm not an electrician by any means, and I don't know. I've learned through the years, though, that how you mount your accessories and mount your panels and whatnot, how secure you have them, is every bit important as the grade of material you use. So I've really tried to be better on that. So I've built, you saw the little dash panel, which doesn't have anything in it yet. But everything's taped off and clear behind it, so that'll be a good mounting location. The next thing, we had some accessories we needed to wire. I'm wiring the fans on independent circuits for the radiator in the back, and I've discussed this, how I'm going to use it for some heat for the cab. So we'll be reversing polarity, a couple times a year. But it shouldn't be any big deal. The fans are cheap. If it burns them up, we'll put a new one in. But everything's going to have appropriate size fuses. Guys, you spend hundreds of hours. In the case of the Sammy Mog, I got over 2,000 hours in it. It may not be worth that to someone else, but I would hate to have to start over a wiring issue. So, knock on wood, I haven't had any issues with how I wired the Sammy Mog. It was one of the things I was most nervous about in the whole build. And she starts every time. Haven't had any issues. I ran a master fuse. I did blow that one time. I sized it as close as I could size it. I think I had a 60 amp in. It should have been a little bit bigger. We had all the lights on, and the air compressor cycled while it was going. And so we blew one fuse one time on a night ride here at the house. And to date, that is the only instance the Sammy Mog has ever spin outdoors unintentionally. It's always made it back. So anyway, I feel pretty good about that. I'm going to give you I'll pause this in a second, flip the camera around, and give you a little tour of what we got done tonight. I'm pretty happy with how this panel's coming out. And man, it's clean. And you pop 5 bolts out, the whole panel will fall forward, and you can have access to everything right behind it. It's going to be neat, clean. You can do it from inside the rig. You don't have to crawl up in the mud underneath it. If you're in a precarious spot, you can tie it off and get to it. You don't have to, I don't enjoy working underneath the vehicle or climbing up inside the engine compartment on the side of the trail. I'd much rather work on stuff inside the vehicle, inside the passenger compartment, and also going that route, I know how high the water got. So if we go through something deep, I can kind of gauge how deep it was, and do I need to be worried about, what might be shorting out. So give me just a second, and we'll do a little tour here of what we got done tonight. I think you'll like it, and we built it all modular, and so there's a lot of room to expand off of this. I don't know, I haven't really given a full detailed tour of the inside of the Sammy Mog yet. She's buried under so much stuff right now, it's embarrassing. I need a bigger shop, but I guess that's the same boat everybody's in. But anyway, I will expand the aluminum work, and the way we have it mounted, I feel we have a good basis to expand off of. So I'll be able to enclose more room for accessories and stuff of that nature. Alright guys, so this is that 8-way gang switch thing I talked about. It's got a master power on and off. It's pretty nice. It also has a feature I haven't seen before in the previous one I bought for Dimples, the kids' Dodge. This one here has a light sensor, so at night it dims all the lights for you, which I thought was kind of cool. But if you look at this panel, I've got aluminum strips with inserts behind here, and they're working like a bolt, a nut with a tab, right? Except for it's really easy to line up. Even when all the dash is on, you'll be able to get back there. And the top 2 bolts do like that. The bottom plate, I still got wiring to clean up. I'm working on it. The bottom plate mounts off the transmission shifter bolts, and I bent up a little piece of scrap, put some inserts in it. So you pull them 3 bolts out along the bottom, and everything folds out. And this clears. It's close, it's tight, but when you're in drive, you got plenty of room. And so you'll be able to turn on and off all your features through that little panel there. And then let me walk around here. So you'll be able to access everything. And then back here, I think we got a little bit better angle on it. Let me get my light down here. So if you look up behind here, I've got the control box mounted. I used some nice aluminum spacers for mounting this out, so I had access to run all the wires up and under the back of it. And I'll sheath everything when I'm done. But anyway, that's a nice smooth surface. I got that control wire wrapped around. And as you can see, I got plenty of room, plenty of clearance on everything up in there. And got a little 80-amp circuit breaker, and you'll notice there's a wire run down beside it. That wire is going to daisy chain to a little fuse block up here, and that's on the incoming side. So I'm going to run some heavy gauge wire back here to the circuit breaker, and then I'll tie all this in. Eventually I'll get all this closed up too. But what I'm working towards is when I get done, all my wires will be on like an umbilical, and I may even attach like a bungee to it to pull the slack up and into there. And then when I pull it out, I can work on everything right here. Throw a log under the tire, pull it back to low on the shifter, and we got access for days. So pretty tight little package, pretty nice. I got room to put a couple 12 volt plugs and USB plugs in here. And then if I can get my light to stay for us, I think I'm going to come off here. I may use this mounting tab or this one, roll up and come off and around, and build like a little lip here to cover up part of the shifter. I may go ahead and wrap the whole shifter while I'm at it. But what I'll do then is I can put charging ports facing down in this wasted space here. So, like I said, doesn't look like much, but pretty productive. Even run a grommet. Look at that, guys. So we got no wiring rubbing on metal or anything. It's coming together. So I will come off the lug on that. I've got some wire. I got the crimp on, the big, I crimp them in a vise with a bolt over them to get them to crimp good. But I got some good press on, like the copper big lug clamps. And what I'll do is I'll make me a coil, and I'll come right off my hot power distribution here. Again, I probably would have done it a little bit different, but I don't see any harm in it. It worked before. I've ohmed it out. Everything's good. And I'll probably run all my wiring through here. And what I'll do is I'll cut down like a piece of hose once I get it all run. Hose clamp that around so we can't rub. But anyway, that's kind of where we're at. It's kind of where it's going. We got a lot of snow coming in. Still got the vice grips. Anyway, haven't addressed that yet. But we got some snow rolling in the area. Don't know if I'm working from home tomorrow, heading out on the road. This week could be interesting. I could get a lot done. I may be tied up through Thursday. I don't know yet. So, guys, man, I appreciate you hanging out. Hope you're having a good time with it. Hope you're, not cringing too much. Like I said, try to take it pretty serious. Try to get it cleaned up and start on someone else's project. My early stuff was pretty rough on the wiring too. So this is going to be a work in progress. It's going to take a while. It's not going to be perfect overnight. It'll probably never be perfect. I'm sure everyone watching this has something that they could chime in on and tell me I'm doing wrong. But just trying to piece it together with what I got, what I know works, and working from there. Anyway, guys, have a great week. Hope everything's going well. Talk to you later.